Hi there, thanks for joining me today. I'm Jackie, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about physical distancing versus social distancing, because here we are in the middle of this crazy pandemic. It's still going on, and everybody's still talking so much about how we need to keep our distance from people. Well, there's a big difference between physical distancing and social distancing because we do need to physical distance, but social distancing is not good for us. We're social beings, we need to connect with other people, and this being apart from people is so isolating, really hard on everybody. So in that vein, today what I'm doing is I'm going to do a sea glass mosaic on this 8x10 frame that is a bridge. And because a bridge is all about building connections between you and somewhere else. So this bridge that I'm doing is the bridge between Prince Edward Island and New Brunswick. It's called the Confederation Bridge. And it's really done a good job in connecting those two provinces in the eastern part of Canada. So what I thought I would do is depict that bridge in a sea glass mosaic as a reminder that we need to be building connections and we need to be connecting with other people, not just keeping physical distance, but do not keep social distance. We do need to still socialize and still be with people and be connected to people. So if you look behind me here, there's a window standing in my window that is 30 inches wide and 15 inches high. And I really want to make a long, full length of the Confederation Bridge in that piece. So today I'm doing a small one, just to kind of give you an idea of how you can work small as a way to practice before you make a bigger piece. So what I need for this one, I have my 8x10 frame. I have a tray of brown sea glass because I'm going to use brown sea glass to build the bridge. And what I'm using here are mostly small browns because it helps you really create good shapes when you're using small pieces of sea glass. I have some white sea glass to do the sky, and I have some green sea glass to do the water. And then I also have a piece of driftwood that I'm going to incorporate, a few pieces of sea pottery and a few other special pieces. I'll show you what I'm going to do with those. Those will be kind of neat. And I have my clear silicone. So with this is kitchen and bath adhesive caulk that goes on white and dries clear, and it works really well for all my sea glass projects. You've probably heard me talk about that before. I have a few little skewers to clean up messy bits and my tweezers. So I'm all set to go. And when you watch this video after you've seen it, if you find it really interesting, be sure to join me for my next video when I'll show you how I take this small project and create a big project. So be sure to join me for my next one. So let's get started. It's all about building bridges at a time in our lives when we're told to physically stay away from other people. We really should be still connecting. But it's hard when it's not really that safe to go near people. And anyway, it's been a challenging time for us all. So keep in mind that you want to still be building bridges. I just thought I'd tell you a little bit about the Confederation Bridge. If you've ever driven between PEI and New Brunswick, especially since 1997, you would have crossed this bridge. This bridge opened May 31st, 1997, and it was really quite a change for the lifestyle of people in PEI. I know I grew up in PEI, and every time we wanted to leave the island, we had to take the ferry, and taking the ferry meant waiting in line, often for hours, probably waited as long as 6 hours by times. You'd always have to rush to try to get there just in time for the ferry, but you didn't always make it on because especially during the summertime there would be lots of tourists coming to PEI and lots of islanders wanting to get off the island and go visiting people off island. So it was often a bit of a long wait. So the bridge itself is quite the structure. It spans 12.9 miles. 13 kilometers, sorry, It spans about 9 miles, 12.9 kilometers. And I'm getting my measurements mixed up. And it's, what I'm depicting here are 6 piers. So I have 6 piers of the bridge, and this is at the center of the bridge. But there are actually 62 piers. That's how long it is to cover that almost 13 kilometers. And most of the bridge sits about 40 meters above sea level. And the water that it crosses is the Northumberland Strait, so it's about 40 meters above the Northumberland Strait. Except for the center part of the bridge, as you come up, it gets higher in the center to provide more room here for big ships to get through. And that section of the bridge is actually 60 meters. So 60 meters is equivalent to about 197 feet. And 40 meters is about 131 feet. So if you have a fear of heights or a fear of being over water, which a lot of people do, they find crossing the bridge a little bit intimidating. Personally, I absolutely love it because I grew up on PEI and I love to get there, and I can get there a lot quicker. It takes about 12 minutes to get across the bridge. Whereas going on the ferry was about an hour crossing, plus depending on how long you have to wait, and then you have to get in line and load and unload, it would be a full day to get over to PEI. So now I can get there, and all I have to think about in terms of the time commitment to cross the Northumberland Strait to get over to the island is 12 minutes, as opposed to sometimes hours. So I quite like the bridge coming into play for my trips to PEI. I'm a big fan. So if you ever get a chance to go to PEI, hopefully you'll do the bridge crossing. It is quite the spectacular structure. So this particular sea glass design is a great example of why I really love using sea glass to make mosaics, because it gives you a really good mosaic effect. If you were to look at the actual bridge to PEI, you would see that the structure is perfect and symmetrical, and all of the piers are really straight. But yet when you put the sea glass in there, as you can see, it's all different shades of brown, and the piers aren't all equally the same size and shape. They don't go just perfectly, but yet your eye kind of fills it in as if it looks like it is, you know, these piers of a bridge. And I just love that. I love that effect. I love the way your eye kind of makes up for any of the imperfections in the design, because I don't tend to really like things super symmetrical. So this way I can use my all different shapes of sea glass and just create like I want to. And it works really well for me. Now, if you like things really symmetrical and really perfect, working with sea glass will probably drive you crazy, because no two shapes of sea glass are alike, and when you put them together you can never get them to line up just perfect. But I guess that's why I feel like it works really well for mosaics, because with the mosaic effect, what happens is your eye just fills in the gaps and it makes things look like whatever it is your mind tells you it should be. And in this case, my mind tells me this should be the Confederation Bridge. So my mind tends to fill in the blanks. Now what I'm doing here is I have the white pieces of sea glass that I'm using for the sky, and then I want to use green for the water. So I've got my tray of white right here. I have to get my tray of green. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the horizon, the green right along the horizon line. So I want to fill in the sky with white, and then I'm going to use tiny green to do the horizon line. And I'm going to work through each section underneath the piers one by one and get this filled in before I fill in the rest of the sky and the rest of the water. So before I fill in the rest of the water with green, I just wanted to show you what I wanted to do for another element down here at the bottom. I have this piece of driftwood I was going to put there, and I have 3 pieces of pottery that I'm going to put on here. That they're kind of like earthenware. They're not white, they're like an off-white or a beige that I'm going to put in there like that. And then I'll put a little wing on each. So it's going to be like 3 birds sitting on the piece of driftwood. Whoops. Got those mixed up. Need the bigger wing on the bigger bird. And then that one. And then I'm just going to use a tiny piece of brown on each one. So they're like the tiny browns for their feet. And then I'm going to use some blue. 3 pieces of blue for the beaks of the birds. So then what this kind of looks like is you have these shorebirds in the foreground of the piece, and the bridge is way off in the distance. So it helps give a bit of perspective about how big this bridge is, because that bridge is really big in comparison to the shorebirds, but way off in the distance. So then I just have to fill in the rest of the water with green and the sky with white. So thanks so much for joining me today. Be sure to join me for my next video when I show you a much larger version of the Confederation Bridge. And until next time, happy sea glass hunting!